The next thing we need to learn about is latitude and longitude and how we find exact locations. Relative location is very simple. An example of a relative location would be like, I live in Indianapolis, okay? Or I live in Indiana, okay? Or I go to school in Lawrence. Those are examples of relative location, okay? But an exact location is different. An exact location means that you are using longitude and latitude to give a very specific place on Earth. Think about it this way. Most of you probably have used GPS before, or maybe Google Maps. And you plug in a place you want to go, and all of a sudden it shows up on the map, right? Well, Google Earth is using, or Google Maps, Google Earth, GPS, all of that is using is using latitude and longitude to give you that exact location on your GPS or on Google Earth, Google Maps, okay? So it's different. And you might think like, oh, well, if I have GPS, if I have Google Maps, then what's the point of using exact location? Well, for example, if you're in the military, you have to be really good at using latitude and longitude. Because inevitably you're gonna have to probably like call in an airstrike or call in artillery support. And if you don't give the exact location, people die. And maybe not the people that you wanted to die, right? You might accidentally drop a bomb on yourself. So you cannot make mistakes with this. Now, finding exact location with latitude and longitude is actually pretty simple, okay? Most of you have probably done plotting points on an x and y axis in math class, right? Like, for example, x is always 0, right? Y is always 0, okay? And then it goes up from there, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on, right? And you've got negative numbers over here and positives over here, right? These are your positives, these are your negatives, right? Okay. So latitude and longitude is pretty similar to that, okay? The difference is that you're not using positives and negatives. You're using directional terms of north, south, east, and west, okay? So like, for example, if you wanted to put on here 1, 1, right? Well, that would be about right here, right? You'd go over 1 and up 1, and that gives you the coordinates 1 and 1. Latitude and longitude isn't much different, except that what we would be reading there would be 1 degree north, 1 degree east, okay? And that location actually does exist on Earth, okay? So if we're looking at the Earth, this is kind of what it looks like with our latitude and longitude lines, okay? Here we have the equator, okay? And the equator is 0 degrees latitude. Okay? The lines that go from east to west across the Earth are known as latitude lines, okay? And our lines that go up and down from north to south are called longitude lines. Here's a great way to remember this. When I was a kid growing up and learning this, my teacher taught me latitude, these lines, right? Think fatitude, because it kind of looks like a fat guy's belly, right? And they're going across. But last year I had a student who came up with something even better, I thought. He said, well, my mom always taught me latitude, climb the ladder. And he's like, if you do it like this, Mr. Bergman, it looks like steps of a ladder. And latitude lines are like the steps of a ladder. And so if you wanted to go to 10 degrees north latitude, you would go north 10 degrees. And if you wanted to go to 10 degrees south latitude, he said, you'd climb down the ladder to 10 degrees south latitude. I was like, that's really clever. I thought that was really helpful. Now, on our longitude lines, you got to remember that they run from the North Pole, okay, to the South Pole, okay? And the 0 degree line for that is the prime meridian. So equator is the 0 degree for latitude lines, but the prime meridian is the 0 degree line for longitude, okay? And that's pretty much it there. Let's practice a few together here before I turn you loose on your own work. Let's start with A. A is a pretty easy one to find, okay? So if I'm trying to find A, I start down here at 0 degrees, okay? And then I need to go up, right? So I'm going to go up 30, 60, and then that's it. It's at 60 degrees, okay? So I know my first thing is going to be 60 degrees, and I went north, right? I went north. So it's 60 degrees north, okay? And I started 0, okay? And go west now, right? West 30, west 60, west 90, okay? That means it's going to be 90 degrees west. And that's our coordinates. 60 degrees north, 90 degrees west. Just remember to start at 0 and then go in the direction that you're trying to find the exact location for, right? And those directions that you go in will be your latitude and longitude coordinates of north, south, east, or west, okay? The other thing to remember, too, that's important, is your first number will always be a latitude line. If you put a longitude line first and a latitude line second, we flip-flop these, it's a different place on Earth, okay? You cannot reverse these. They have to be, your north or south has to be first, and your east or west has to be second. If you flip-flop them, it takes you to a different place on Earth. Completely different place. Let's look at that, for example. Let's do 90 degrees north and 60 degrees west. Just hypothetically here, okay? Let's do that. So, let me erase this real fast. Give us a nice clean place to work. Let's do it. 90 degrees north is going to be up here, right? So now we're in the Arctic Circle, okay? And 60 degrees west would be right here, actually. So we're actually up in the middle of the Arctic Sea in frozen water, right? So if you gave those directions to somebody, like for point A, and you said, oh, I'm at 90 degrees north, 60 degrees west, that's where they would end up. They would not end up here, would they? So you see, it's quite important to make sure that you actually have the numbers in the correct order, or it doesn't work. Okay, let's do B. Let me get rid of all this. Okay, B is out here south of Hawaii. So we're out in the Pacific Ocean. Okay, so again, we're going to start with our latitude line first, which is actually 0, right? So we're 0 degrees latitude. Okay, 0 degrees latitude. All right, and now let's find our longitude. Remember, we start at 0 and we go over 30, 60, 90, 120, 150. So we are 0 degrees latitude and 150 degrees west, because we went west, right? This is west. 150 degrees west longitude. And that's our coordinates. It's just that easy. Okay? Let's do a couple more. Let's go with C. Looks like it's down here, maybe in Argentina. Okay? So C, again, we've got to start with latitude, and this time it's south, so we've got to go down, right? We go south 30 degrees. We've got our coordinate, 30 degrees south latitude, okay? And now we count, go to 0, right? Go to the prime meridian, count over, 30, 60, okay. And we've got 60 degrees west longitude. That's our coordinates, okay? Pretty easy stuff. You guys getting the hang of it? I hope so. Because you're going to be doing a lot of these. Oops. Okay. Let's go to D. Looks like we're down here almost in Antarctica. Okay. Again, we've got to start at our latitude, right? So we're going to go down 30 degrees, 60 degrees, okay. And we've got 60 degrees south latitude, right? And now let's start again at the prime meridian. We go over 30, 60, right? 60 degrees east longitude. Okay, I think you guys should have the hang of those now. I won't do the rest. What we will do next, though, is we're going to look at the United States, and we're going to plot some points of our own on here, okay? So, Mr. Bergman used to live in Chicago here, okay? That's where Chicago's at. Oops, not there. at that little red dot. So we're going to find the latitude and longitude for that, okay? This doesn't have 0 on it, but it does have, you know that the United States is in the northern hemisphere, right? So you know that all of these points here have to be north of the equator, right? They have to be. They're all north of the equator. The equator is way down south there by Panama. And you know that we are also in the western hemisphere, right? You guys learned this a few days ago. So all of the points on this map, everything in the United States has to be north of the equator and west of the prime meridian, okay? Every single one. So every point that you would plot for the United States would say such and such degrees north, such and such degrees west. Does that make sense? So let's start off with Chicago here, okay? Chicago is roughly, here's 40, right? So this line here is 40 degrees north latitude. This is 45 up here, okay? Chicago's in between the two. You kind of have to guesstimate here a little bit, but it looks like it's basically at 42 degrees north, okay? And then we have to count over, right? The map gives us 50, 70, 80, 90, okay? So, again, we're not starting at 0, but we already know, because we're in the western hemisphere, that our directional term is west, right? So, this is 80 degrees, this is 90 degrees. Again, Chicago's in between the two. It's a little closer to 90. I'm going to say it's at 87 degrees west longitude, okay? Everybody see how I got that? If not, you're going to have to ask me questions tomorrow, okay? Let's do another one. Let's do Indianapolis. We're here, right? Oop, this is not cooperating. Nope, that's Michigan. Sorry, everyone. Okay, there's Indianapolis. All right. So this one's easy because we already see the latitude line of 40 degrees, right? We're actually about 39, so this map's a little off a little bit. And then we are in between the 80 and the 90 again. So we're at about 85 degrees west longitude. 40 degrees north, 85 degrees west. And that's how simple it is, guys, okay?